First, I'll say welcome to my fellow plant propagators, and I missed last year's meeting, and obviously we're all missing this year's meeting except by Zoom, which is probably not the way to conduct business. I have listened to various podcasts on my computer, and I thought I'd shoot myself. So hopefully you don't have guns when you're listening to this, and we'll go from there. And by the way, I'm Mike Dirr. My partner's in PII. This is our new company, or I should say kind of a reinvention of our old company. It's called Premier Introductions Incorporated. We wanted to keep the PII. We like that kind of pie symbol. And we started January 1. We sold our company originally to Bailey and closed the deal, I think it was 5 years ago. I know it was 5 years ago. Had a non-compete, couldn't do much of anything, no hybridizing anything. We still grow plants and source seed or whatever. But what you're looking at in front of you and behind you, and as we go through today and take a few photos here and there, it's all it's all open pollinated seed. This year we made a ton of controlled crosses. We've already collected seed. We still have more in our little propagation house over here. As the seed matures, we collect the hydrangea seed and whatever else we happen to be breeding. But what you're looking at is pretty amazing. If you have a good mama, a good maternal parent, and every breeder out there from Tom Rainey to Tim Wood and Spring Meadow to wherever in the world knows that open pollinated material can be great, but you got to know what you're looking for. And our goals are, hydrangeas are still the big issue. I just got printed out this morning, actually, the new, at least the hydrangea section from the new Spring Meadow 2021 catalog. And I counted 7 new ones. And some of them I can't tell if they're just a rename of old ones. It seems like they might be. But the fact that they don't quit, there's 12 pages of hydrangeas here. And I wrote down numbers. There's 12 paniculata and 11 macrophylla. And what's happened over the last, I'd say 5 to 10 years, is that paniculata jumped and jumped and jumped. And I'll give you an example. Tom Demeline, president of Willowway Nursery, said they sell about 280,000 hydrangeas a year. Macrophyllas were in the 50s, paniculatas were in the 40%, and take you even down a little lower on the things. So things like serrata were 0.7%. So if you're going to breed, you're going to breed for the market. What are you going to aim for? You're going to aim for arborescens to some degree, which are a little higher, but certainly macrophylla and paniculata. And what you're looking at here is this year's selections. This is second bloom. These were cut back on July 15th of this year. And I'll just say in simple terms, it's amazing. There's also some paniculatas I brought up to show you. These are all first sequence bloom on these from seedlings of, we're using, I won't tell you what parents, but we're using as many maternal parents as we can find, and I've collected seed actually in West Tennessee, where they have a gigantic evaluation hydrangea paniculata collection. And what's really amazing, that a lot of this material, we always want it to flower faster. We want stronger stems. We want cleaner foliage. This is, I guess I can say it, this is a phantom seedling that I just picked out today, and it's absolutely amazing. When you propagate these and regrow them normally, the flower size is going to shrink. It'll probably be 2/3 the size. But the flowers are unbelievably impressive. And this is what the public wants. In fact, the filmmaker here and Bree were just talking about, if this was in a garden center now, it would literally walk out the door. And we've been able to shake out some pinks. We've never gotten anything deep as Invincible Spirit 2, Invincible Spirit Ruby. We know we can do it, and we will do it. We've already made crosses on that. But what I like about what you're looking at, and again, I'm not going to tell you the parent, is, and this is something we really shoot for, the two, Jeff Beasley, my partner, and Mark Griffith are both growers, both either own nurseries. Still, Jeff just went back in business, and Jeff's always looking at the root system. And I've looked at enough arborescens over the years where you lift them up out of a container and half the root ball falls away. So we've been able to get great root systems on some of these, and this is a classic of, we bred these things for strong stems back in, this is a 10 gallon or a 7 gallons heavy, back in 2008, 9, 10, 11, and we threw them all away. We never came up with anything what we thought was better than Annabelle. Well, a bunch of them, many landed in the Dirr garden, which you may see on this video tomorrow, I don't know. But there's one that lasted, and this was the one, and my wife came in, many of you know Bonnie, you know Bonnie anyway. She comes and said, Mike, there's a plant in that front bed that looks great. It's got big flowers on it. It's dark green foliage and it isn't dead. So obviously I got cuttings, and we've been looking at this thing for the last several years. This is a cut back again. So July 15th, this is rebloom. But if the camera's picking this up or any kind of close up, I mean, it is a dark green. It is the darkest green, the most lustrous sheen I've seen on an arborescens. And again, great root systems, easy to propagate, and certainly easy to grow. So we're hopeful. By the way, I know I'm talking to propagators. We're not supposed to talk business, but this is business. I'm out here and you're there and you want to succeed and we want to succeed. This stuff is all open season. There's anybody that wants to visit us and talk to us and is not afraid of COVID, maybe next year, 2021, we'd love to have you here. We're show and tell. We're, as I mentioned earlier, to the photographer, we're equal opportunity breeders. We go A to Z, and the door is open to anyone who is remotely interested and wants to work out a relationship for the future. We're in the hydrangea, largely hydrangea macrophyllas and serratus now. We were looking at arborescens and paniculata. And macrophylla, as I mentioned, is still the largest seller. And every time you pose the question to a potential licensee that you got a new hydrangea macrophylla, the first question they ask you is, does it rebloom? Does it rebloom? They don't ask it once, they ask you 10 times, and they want proof that it actually does that. So if you're breeding, I know Tom Rainey and anybody else involved in breeding, certainly Spring Meadow, if you look at their new catalog, you'll see rebloom, 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 rebloom. We've been working on, we're probably the first actually, in fact we started at UGA back in the late 90s and have moved on through, and as many of you know, we work with Bailey, and they've got Summer Crush, our latest, Bloomstruck, etc. Twist and Shout, Blushing Bride, those all came from either UGA or from Plant Introductions Breeding. What I'm showing you today are, I couldn't do any breeding in the last 5 years, but that doesn't mean I can't keep my eyes open and travel. And most of you are familiar, you walk your nursery every day, you see branch sports. Well, this is a mophead sport of Twist and Shout, and many of you grow it. It's loose, it's lanky, it's a best rebloomer. It blooms a month quicker than the traditional Endless Summer, Oak Hill, Pennymac, David Ramsey, Decatur Blue, which were the original rebloomers. Deeper flower color, as you'll probably be able to see later on. Relatively clean foliage, again, October 5th, and you're looking at foliage that isn't full of Cercospora. And there's buds coming from the top, and you can see some of the stems here. So this was a real find. My wife and I were together. I'm not going to tell you where we found it. We found it, we propagated it, we got permission, propagated it, built it up. It is now licensed to both Greenleaf Nursery and to the Synergy Group. And Synergy Group is more or less a consortium of northern nurseries, at Over the Vest, Pride's Corner, Willow Ways, and their shared nursery in Canada, and Saunders Brothers, who obviously is in our southern region. So I like what I see here. We've had it since 2017, so 4 years, and it's still popping. We have another new one. It isn't out here. This is called Rock and Roll. It's been patented. The patent's approved. We're all complete with that. I have another one called Azure Skies, which is an Endless Summer look-alike, except it reblooms more heavily. Good foliage, early bloom, heavy bloom, and that's been patented too as Azure Skies, trademark Azure Skies. And then one that's kind of in the annals of history has been lost. It came from England originally. It's called Green Mantle. Lost to England, went to Australia, brought back to New England by Mal Condon, who's curator of the hydrangea collection on Cape Cod at Heritage Gardens. We got it. It has a pink and a green kind of mottled froggy kind of inflorescence, thick sepals, compact. It does get Cercospora. It's relatively clean compared to many things that I'll show you in a second, and good fall color, excellent fall color. And the flowers hold and hold and hold and hold. It is not a rebloomer. The other two I mentioned, Azure Skies and Rock and Roll, are potent rebloomers. But you can see now, just pulled out of our trenches back here under our shade cloth, it's still looking good. It's a good way to put it. And when people see it in flower, they go, wow, wow, wow. We've had a lot of visitors look at this. This was been around for, actually, this was found, I think, and I got to remember the dates, so I think it was found in the 40s or 50s by the fellow in England, and then just kind of moved around. They said it was a sport of Goliath. DNA was done on this. It is not a sport of Goliath, on and on. At the same time, I was talking about leaf spot before. This is Cercospora on White Wave. This is a 1900 to 1910 hybrid from Lemoyne or Moulier, I'm not sure which one. Beautiful white lace cap. However, it looks like a leopard in terms of the foliage, and it's just ugly as sin. And we have worked on our breeding here, and we don't have it all right either, but we continue to hammer away. And if you can see this, and close up at all, for clean foliage. And so these are seedlings from this year selected for foliage. Also as soon as we see a flower bud on a seedling, we grab it. This is a mop head. You can look at one and tell pretty quickly. Pretty red stems, glossy dark green foliage, and who knows if it's going to be any good. I don't know if it's going to be any good, but I know it's a heck of a lot better than White Wave that I'm looking at here. And then possibly one of the more exciting things is Spring Meadow figured it out a long time ago. I was in Iowa at a conference in February, a tree conference. Tim Wood was there from Spring Meadow. And we were talking about where breeding is going to go in hydrangeas, and he said there's only one way to go. you got to integrate other species, serrata, scandens, lutea venosa, angustipedala, into macrophylla. Macrophyllas are we're in a cul-de-sac as far as breeding. We're chasing our tail, and we're not going to get anywhere unless we move new genes into the genome of these hybrids. And here's a perfect example. I got two sources of wild collected material from South Korea and North Korea. They survived minus 30, listen to this, minus 30 Fahrenheit. I won't tell you where in hell they came from. This is my first generation seedling from one of the minus 30 parents. And the only reason I selected it because of the fall color. And the second reason is it's clean as a whistle. It's amazing. So this is straight serrated. We've already incorporated this into every macrophylla we could get our hands on that was a rebloomer. This is not a rebloomer. It's a pink lace cap. It's very, very pretty. But are you going to sell a serrata? And I gave you numbers for serrata from Willoway, 0.7%. You're going to go broke if you try to do it. But the fact is, the future sits or resides in this genotype that you're looking at here. Hydrangea serrata from Korea, both North and South Korea. And then lastly on macrophyllas, and by now you're probably asleep in your chair, or you've had 5 beers and you've fallen out of your chair. But we're also working with hopefully color types, and we have yellow and we have purple. And we get a lot of response from these. The problem is we can't get reblooming into them. We've made crosses with the purple. We have not made crosses with the yellow. But I won't tell you what the parentage is on this, but it's quite interesting. It's compact. It's a 1-year seedling, and it has held its color through this summer, which hasn't been the hottest on record, but still hot enough. And then the purple ones, we have tons of these. Bailey Nursery's also got a bunch of these. They got better ones. And the genetics started at UGA on these. We call them Lilacina. This is red leaf Lilacina. And we got hundreds, maybe thousands of seedlings out here, and we've been slowly picking the best. But we've only had 2 that have flower buds, and if we could get a mop pad with purple foliage and a rebloomer on this genetic plant or this makeup, we'd be off and running. So that's kind of the macrophylla story quickly without boring you too badly. To try to produce something different, these are seedlings of one called Irish Lace, which is a hybrid we made. Look at that little baby. No flowers, of course. We made Irish Lace is a white with green, kind of white and green sepals. Flowers at every node. So I got a bunch of open pollinated seed, and this is all open pollinated seed. We bred this back in, actually Josh Cardos did this back in 2005-06 at UGA, and we just kind of carried the plant through. Cold hardy. Irish Lace is the name. It's Lady in Red times Angustipedala, and these are seedlings, and we got them about 6 inches tall. And I don't know what's going to happen down the road, but every leaf shape known to man and woman, what we were looking for, and this is where I mentioned this Fairy Tale Bride and Runaway Bride, Snow White. Those came out of Japan, and they were crossed with, it was macrophylla times scandens or lutea venosa, and the idea was to put a flower at every node, and they did succeed on that. I don't see the reblooming, but they obviously succeeded in having a flower at every node. And the flower is very pretty on that Runaway Bride or Fairy Tale Bride. So we're trying to help. We were ahead of our time, but nobody was interested when we were doing this, and we just chucked them all away except for a few. And you can look at the foliage here and just see the randomness of this genetic, what I call shakeout. It's pretty much unbelievable. I love some of these dark green foliage. Some of these are clean as a whistle. That's another thing we like about Angustipedala, scandens, etc., is that the foliage, I don't know if Jim can get that, but the foliage is clean on these too. So this is in a way is the future, but it'll still have to be back crossed, or no, I shouldn't even say back crossed to a rebloomer to get that reblooming trait in these little rascals, and we're doing that. Wow. Look at this one. I got to get in there. Look at the foliage on that. Not that it's going to sell anything, but it's amazing. I'm always amazed at genetics. You know, you think, hey, we can't get any more variation out of that rascal, but look at that, and then look at that little peewee we looked at over there before. Hey, we're in a different pea patch at PII. This is kind of a mini collection of Distillium. And these are all seedlings that actually, these belong to the university. My son's done a little breeding. Matt's got about 10, 12 patents now. And they work with licensed material, McCorkle to Greenleaf. Who else has got? I don't know if Bailey's got anything or not, but this is his latest crop. And I tell you what, as Distilliums go, and I've looked at a bunch of them, we started the Distillium pandemic, if you will, back in 2005 and 6, and it spread. PDSI has a couple. Greenleaf has a couple. Bailey's got all the stuff that Bailey has came from us. Matt has several, and we talk a lot. I just love this one. This is one of the best I've seen to date. This was, just to give you an idea, this was potted on 10, 11, 19, so we're looking at literally a year, about a year here. If the original plant was 15 inches tall, it looks like a pancake, and maybe a 15-inch pancake. Just keep spreading, spreading, so I don't think it's going to be bigger than maybe, I'll say 18 inches, 2 feet, and just spread, not indefinitely, but it stayed low, and it consistently in the heat, it produces those beautiful tip ends, purple ends. There's a bunch of others in here. I'm not going to go through and wear you out. But these have been licensed again to McCorkle and to Greenleaf. There's one that is really, I think, again, very, very unusual. It's a small leaf form. It's close to boxwood size. And again, these haven't been pruned, so these are just left to rips. And they're all, I think we potted them all at the same time. Yeah, 10, 11, 19. So you got a saleable plant without doing pretty much any work except throwing some fertilizer on them, which we did. And that was it. But Distilliums, we started in 2005-06. People chastised us, said, who knows who Distillium, who's going to buy a Distillium? Well, take a look at the marketplace now. They're chock-a-block full, and there's more on the way. Jim's got this camera on. I'm just going to keep walking and talking. I love eccentric plants, and I pulled this one today because it's going to go home and it's going to go in my garden. And so I just Kubotoized about 4 trees over the weekend. 2 stinking peach trees, by the way. Don't tell me you can grow fruit without spraying, because you can't. I had a ton of fruit on. They were all full of disease. Anyway, this is a new red bud that many years ago a lady wrote me and said, I got this red bud with zigzag stems. And I said, so what? Sends me pictures, semi-weeping, but I don't know if you can focus in on here. The stems are free. Anybody got a pruner? I wish I had my pruner with me. I'd cut it off. I could probably snap this one off. This is a lower little branch. And I don't know if you can see this, but it's actually beautiful in the wintertime. It's got this wonderful texture, and I can see snow accumulating on the branches. I think you can see it. This was given to me by Alex Newbar. I believe this is going to be patented. You take a look at the stem, it looks like something that you'd typically train, or to get that stage, wrap a vine around a stake to get that kind of curly-Q effect. It is pink flowered, and I was thinking about it this morning. I pulled this out for show and tell. I just wondered if any kind of seedling population out of this would yield anything like this. And it's probably going to be a recessive trait, so you'd have to go through a couple generations to get there. Just for a point of reference, I'm a big believer in Baptisia. And the bees love Baptisia. I grow Baptisia, semi-breed Baptisia. These are rooted cuttings from some of my selections. This year I got 3 different selections. This is actually one called Brownie Points, which is known. But you root them, you pot them in cells, or they're rooted in cells. You transplant them to, these are kind of a trade ground, some extra pots, and you're ready to go in the ground. These are all going to go in the Dirr garden, and see if we get anything different out of it. And I'm curling it. One other side thing, you turn that camera a little bit, I'm keeping you moving here. This is what all of you know what seedling variation amounts to, but these are Magnolia Virginiana, and these both came from the same parent, from one called Celtic, which is one of Dwayne Moon's introductions. Celtic's a small leaf evergreen, and take a look at this. This almost looks like a magnolia. If Title is saying, or some of the crazies out there, Dave Creech, who love goofy foliage plants, this is a candidate for goofy foliage. It looks like a Manglesia insignis, now Magnolia insignis. It's got the big, long tropical leaf. And what's amazing about this thing is that it branches to the base, and then the branches come out almost at a 90-degree angle and then kind of turn up. So it makes a full plant, dark green, new foliage bronze, and this is a seedling out of the same bunch. And I don't get too excited about that. So as I said, it doesn't take too many seedlings to produce something that's kind of unique. Well, we got the camera trained. These were all on the Christmas list for the IPPS. I could keep you guys for days, as you probably know. And so far, so good. These are a couple of viburnum nudum, native from Connecticut to literally down to, I know I've seen it down in Weeks Bay Regional Wildlife Area, down in the Mobile area, and probably goes into Texas. Grows in swamps. And magnificent fall color, fruit green, pink to blue. Wonderful plant. National Arboretum had 2. This was a tall one. I don't remember the exact numbers on these. And this is a little dwarf one. And these are the same age, by the way, from rooted cuttings. The root's easy from cuttings, and the root system, I don't know, I can't even get it. I was going to take it out and show my fellow IPPSers the root system, but the root system shows itself, popping through the bottom of the pot. And what's amazing about this, I saw this originally at the germplasm repository up in Beltsville, 3 feet tall, 5 feet wide. inflorescences, I should say infructescences, as large as the normal species, probably 5 inches across, 4 to 5 inches. And I got seed, germinated them, and everything I got back from the seed was this. Well, I was able to get cuttings. They shared cuttings with me. They haven't released this yet, but I put five of these in daughter Katie's new house, her garden, and it's beautiful. And I know it's deciduous, but you got fall color, you got flower, you got tight stems, and it's something different. You know, it's not another boxwood, it's not another Ilex crenata, another vomitoria, and you got seasonality with this. It's just absolutely beautiful. So Viburnum nudum, a dwarf one, U.S. National Arboretum, and a tall one, both under number. And I talked to Richard Olson about whether they're going to release it, and it might be coming. They don't move as fast as we do in this part of the world. This is, I don't know if we need this or not, but these are seedlings we dug up. I think we need some upright evergreens that could be used for screening in the southeast. And these came out of Junipers Virginiana Glauca compacta. The seedlings are 3 years old. And we've got two that we really like. This is kind of strange, our numbering system. This is number 1, this is number 3, number 2 is behind me. Number 2 is already, it's going to go to the dump. But they've been relatively clean. I haven't seen, although we overhead water here, so you might see a little cabotina or phomopsis. But they've rooted well, and we got a population of cuttings here already. I think almost close to 100% rooting. Of course, they were juvenile when I took the cuttings last year. But we're thinking about these going. Bailey Bailey Nursery, we had to allow them. This occurred during our 5-year non-compete, the seedlings, and so they're going to take a look at it. I didn't think they would, but they decided they would. And if we could get this thing to market, I think it'd be good for all our growers in the southeast, and certainly our retailers, and certainly our gardeners also. Okay, this is kind of the last stop in sort of the varied shrub category, but we're looking at Fothergilla, and as many of you know, I introduced Mount Airy 40 years ago, and it's still probably the biggest selling Fothergilla. And behind me is a whole collection that was, I think Tom Rainey was involved in this, Rick Lewandowski, somebody from the National Arboretum. They had like 26 so collections or accessions. I was able to pick 12 that I thought were outstanding, and they're okay, but okay is not good enough. And there's a saying in plant breeding or plant evaluation that good is the enemy of great. And if it isn't great, then the hell with it, pretty much. Well, Bobby Green sent me one that was collected in Alabama, and it's called Red. Yeah, it's called, the guy who collected it was Fred Nation, N-A-T-I-O-N, and they named it Redneck Nation since it came from Alabama. But it's a true gardenia. The foliage is relatively clean, early fall color, and excellent fall color and flower. And I've been looking for a Fothergilla forever that is clean right into fall until fall color expression. So I'm over at my tree buddy, John Malone, who owns a tree nursery called Summershade close by. And I'm walking around his lake, and he's got a bunch of Fothergilla seedlings. And I say, what is this? And he said, well, I got a bunch of Fothergilla seedlings, and I stuck them in, and this is what I'm, brilliant red fall color. And as anybody, the two people that are videoing this thing and can know, clean as a whistle, the cleanest. And you look at the other 12, 13, 14 in there, nowhere close. And what I found out in terms of rooting cuttings, I've already got a couple flats of cuttings off this one. I had dug a couple sprouts last, I could probably go along there, 22120. I dug the sprouts, a couple of sprouts I just left on. It's kind of suckered, so I was able to get some good cuttings. I tried KIBA, okay, I've done Dynagel. I don't know if you've ever heard of Dynagel, and I think our propagators have, but I use Clonex. Clonex has got 0.31 IBA, so it's 3,100 parts per million IBA, and it's in some kind of purple goo. And boy, does it root them. I just looked at a flat this morning that's rooted in about 2 or 3 weeks. And Fothergilla will give you fits under mist sometimes, but the foliage still looks good. They've already got roots coming out. So you might consider Clonex. And also this Dynagel is quite good too. It's a mixture of IBA and NAA, and it's a lower kind. It's about 2/10 something IBA and maybe 1/10, a little bit more NAA, and it's in some kind of gooey. It's like a Jello almost. You just dip your cuttings in. So if you're having problem rooting some of these things, they kind of have given you fits in the past. But look at the foliage on it. I absolutely love this plant. The parent plant was about 5 feet tall, and I've got pictures of it in fall color. If there's any way I can send you an image and you could put it in there, I would do it. This could be good. The last Fothergilla I saw introduced was one called Legends of the Fall, which is introduced by Spring Meadow. It came from a guy up in Massachusetts, and I don't know why if it's any better than the old Mount Airy. I don't see it. So anyway, that's a change. And then lastly, we're looking at we worked with raffia lepus 20 years ago, and we kept about 4. And this is the one that is actually being tested by license to Greenleaf. And it's amazing. Overhead water, no leaf spot, white flowers. And who wants a raffia lepus? I don't know, I see raffia lepus around here and they got half the leaves on because, especially in shade, water drips on them, they don't dry out, boom, they're gone. And then we will cut out this folly of a video with Abelia. Well, we actually got another group of Lorepetlams I'd like to show you, but this is Mark Griffith's selection, made a selection out of a kaleidoscope, and it stayed small to date. I think it's about a 2-year-old plant. So we got potential for Abelia. There's too many of these, and how do you separate them and segregate them in the market? I don't know. This is one my son found. It's a purpley one. It's one called 0118, which doesn't mean anything, but it's a good red, yellow in the summer, cool weather goes red, flowers aren't much, but we keep looking at it, we keep saying, boy, that's a nice color, that's a nice color. It's evergreen too, which a lot of views aren't. And then the last one, this is another one of my sons, which we're looking for a creek for a replacement for Rose Creek. And this is compact, it's 0317, I won't tell you the parent on it, but it stayed small, heavy flower, clean, you can see, look at it now, clean foliage, good in a container, pretty good root system, which a lot of abelias don't have. So those are 3, and also Greenleaf is looking at that too. So some of the stuff is out under test, and it may never end up in anybody's backyard, but at least we're trying to get material out. And lastly, I said lastly before, turn that thing around. I'm just going to throw this out. I think there's some room for native small trees, and this is a X Americanus. This is a 1-year seedling. I germinated this January, and I've got some other ones there that are shrubbery and miserable. But the neat thing about Styrex, has a white flower, yellow fall color when it's at its best, smooth bark, almost like an amelanchier bark. And I think something like X Americanus, I don't know if we can make a market in it, but if we don't try, we'll never know. And just point of reference, I'll drag one over here. I rooted those this year. I just transplanted them last week. Easy to root from cuttings, and this is one, some Styrex will not overwinter very well. This is one Styrex that will. So might be something to think about, some small native trees, or in general, you know, somebody says, well, you're not working on natives. Well, what's arborescens? Okay, this is Ilex glabra, and Ilex glabra, as many of you know, it runs from Nova Scotia to Texas, or excuse me, to Florida to Texas, never more than about 100 miles from the ocean, almost always in wet soil areas. And I've had evaluations of Ilex glabra, Conifer densa, nigro, shamrock, and they all get leggy. Well, the new ones that came out from Spring Meadow, I've not grown strong box, I've grown gem box. Gem box was advertised like 2 to 3 feet by 2 to 3 feet. Well, that's not true. It's upright and it's leggy. Well, this is one that Jack Alexander collected about 12 different accessions from Peggy's Cove, Nova Scotia. So it's been hardy to Boston and beyond. It's held its leaves. I've had it in the garden, in the Dirr garden, since 2013, and we just stuck this out 2 years ago here. And I just pruned off a few little loose shoots here. But the thing that's pretty amazing about it, it holds its foliage right down to the ground. And good, it's a female and has heavy flower. It might be good bee pasture for anybody that's in the bee business, because they use Ilex glabra for gallberry honey. But I really think this will be probably 3 feet by maybe 5 feet when it's mature. Jack's wife wants the name Forever Emerald on it. And Peggy's Cove might even be a better name. Whatever it shakes out to be, I don't know. But several of the northern growers, the Synergy guys, particularly Pride's Corner and some of them, Tom Demoline at Willoway, are very excited about this. So we might actually have the first Ilex glabra that holds its leaves to the ground. And you got a plant that, especially up north where you can't grow Crenata, you can't grow Vomitoria, broadleaf evergreens are limited. This might be a real good fill-in. And certainly our growers, because I didn't grow it, and many of you, I know May, for example, ships a lot of stuff to Richard May and his nursery, his family, ship a lot of stuff to Long Island. So this is the kind of plant we grow faster, and we get it up on that eastern seaboard. And as Bonnie and I are in Maine, we're in New England all the time. We got flushed out this year by the COVID-19, but you know, we're on, I'll give you a count, we're on the Bowdoin College campus in Brunswick, Maine. What do I see? Ilex glabra. I'm on the University of Maine, minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit. What do I see? Ilex glabra. So there's a market for this, and I don't think, except for Spring Meadow, who honestly thought it through and said, hey, we could use some better Ilex glabra. This is the best, and I don't get anything out of it. Mark and I have helped this guy. We got him I think he gets 30-cent royalty. We usually get 10 cents or something. But we knew about the plant. Nobody ever picked up on it. We said, hey, this is a good plant. It'll go. And as soon as I think Price Corner, Mark Salou saw this thing, he jumped on it and bought 5,000 liners. For some reason, I think Mark sold all his liners. So the industry knows we need it. And obviously the response has been, hey, we'll pay the freight and see if we can get going on this. So good plant, not well known, has a future. We're looking at Lorepetlam Chinense variety rubrum, and these are seedlings out of, again, I'm not going to tell you what the maternal parent is, but we still think there's a opportunity for better Lorepetlam, and that's kind of been proven. Along came Crimson Fire, then along came Purple Daydream. I know Spring Meadow had 5 or 6. I don't know how they've done, but Crimson Fire, I don't know if Mark's totally caught up with production, and I think Purple Daydream is also very, very good. So we grew there's about 300 seedlings. We probably threw 100 away. There might be 200 left here. We picked the best. We shifted them to containers. We've put extension numbers on. We got cuttings. We got rooted cuttings. And I look at these. I'm out here. I usually work for 4 or 5 hours Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Get out in the morning and work till a little bit after, maybe 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, go home. But I get to see these things more often than my partners. Jeff's once a week, and Mark's back and forth a lot. But what you see with time is that a lot of these were. This batch over here that looks purple now, they were green, purple, and not very attractive. The early selections we made were far superior, and since we got the cold weather, this stuff has really kicked in. And I mean, this is number 2. Look at that foliage on that. It is black purple. I mean, it's phenomenal. And we're hoping these stay lower than, I'm sure you know, Crimson Fire and Purple Daydream are kind of 3 to 4, in fact, 3 to 4 foot range. So we're looking for, again, that sort of pancake spreading one. Maybe like, what is that little pixie, petite purple pixie. But we want something that will live and grow and make it easy for the producer. So these are not yet fully 1-year-old seedlings. This is first year. Cuttings have been taken, they've been rooted. We use that, I think it's called Performa, that little peat sort of cube. It's worked very well in these. Mark has kind of gone over to that rather than normal, what you call bark media or peat perlite media or whatever. But this was our first selection. We thought this was the best. And we have not seen a flower on any of these, so next year we will look for flowers. But we jumped on these, there's 26 here. And you might say 26 is too many. There's no doubt it's too many. But you can see the color, and I think for the average customer, they're all good. But are they going to be growable? Are they going to fill a 3-gallon container fast enough for our industry people? I don't know, but we're going to find out. We'll find out next year. All these are cuttings that are already rooted in the greenhouse. Will be potted up, and we'll take a look at them in production next year. Well, I'd like to thank you for number 1, putting up with me, and number 2, listening to sort of a garbled voice here, an old man's voice, kind of show you the joys of plants, or sharing. I like to say sharing the joys of plants. I think we're all in this for the same reason, that number 1, we got to feed our families, but we all love it. We're particularly inspired by plants. And if there's anything my colleague Armitage ever said that I thought made sense, was that what we produce, what we do, we nourish people's souls, and I truly believe that. And I think there's no place like a garden as a sanctuary, just a restful place, a peaceful place, certainly a spiritual place, on and on and on. So keep up the good work. I hope you'll see more and better plants as you go through your series of videos. But you're welcome to visit us. I think Mark, Jeff, and I invite you in 2021 if a pandemic comes down. If not, as soon as possible, because seeing is believing, and smelling and touching and caressing, and seeing the potential to make millions of dollars off premier introductions plants. Thank you.